Hey everyone, let's dive right into today's explainer. Look, if you've been feeling the financial squeeze lately, even though you're doing everything completely right, this deep dive is going to be incredibly eye-opening for you. Which brings us to part 1 of our explainer, the home ownership illusion and the concept of the permanent landlord. There's a quote directly from our source material that really hits the nail on the head here. It says, "Between rising property taxes and inflation siphoning your equity, you are essentially paying the government monthly rent to live in your own house." That's intense, right? It's what experts call the silent equity siphon. So the bank might be totally out of the picture, but guess what? Skyrocketing property taxes mean the government has basically stepped in as your permanent landlord. You're constantly having to generate new liquidity just to maintain ownership of an asset you've already paid for. It's just a relentless drain on your wealth that never really stops. Now, to understand exactly why this is happening, we gotta look at the macro level data. $39 trillion. To put that massive number into perspective, according to the platform Hidden Tax and CPA Brian, who we're referencing today, this staggering national debt is the actual engine behind the siphon. Their research argues that the government is desperate for revenue to fund this massive debt and their current spending levels. So they're utilizing your rising home value as a tool. Instead of, raising income taxes directly and causing an uproar, that revenue is quietly extracted through constant property reassessments. Let's transition into part 2, second round asset inflation. We'll look at the macroeconomics of how this trap actually works. The source's outline is super clear domino effect here. It's like a giant puzzle, and it doesn't even start in your local neighborhood. It starts globally. Step 1, we see rising energy and fertilizer prices. Those core foundational costs shoot up. Step 2, this triggers general asset inflation across the board. Suddenly, everything costs way more to build, transport, and maintain. Step 3, and this is absolutely crucial for us homeowners, these global pressures cause your home values to artificially inflate. Your house hasn't actually improved, right? The currency has just weakened, making the nominal value of the home look much higher on paper. And finally, step 4, local municipalities swoop right in with tax reassessments based on that newly inflated value, which directly drains your monthly cash flow. It's a literal chain reaction, starting with a barrel of oil and ending right at your kitchen table. So, as the source material points out, while trillions are printed to manage the national debt and home prices artificially inflate, these local tax reassessments act as a hidden monthly tax. Seriously, a hidden tax you never even voted for on any ballot. It completely bypasses the traditional noisy legislative arguments over tax rates and just extracts more capital from your pocket simply because the paper value of your house went up. It is a highly effective, totally silent mechanism that continually drains middle-class liquidity. Okay, so how do we actually fight back? That brings us to part 3, the Augusta Wealth Shield, and how you can go about reclaiming your liquidity. Enter the Augusta Rule. Sometimes it's called the Minimal Rental Use Rule. Now, this is a very specific and entirely legal loophole outlined by our sources as a literal wealth shield. By definition, the Augusta Rule is a strategy that allows homeowners to rent out their primary residence totally tax-free for up to 14 days a year. It's a practical, incredibly clever defense mechanism. So instead of just sitting back and accepting the drain of property taxes, you can utilize this specific IRS code to legally generate tax-free income from the exact same asset the government is taxing. A real game changer. Think of it this way. On one side, we have the siphon. This is passively letting those tax reassessments artificially drain your cash flow year after year. Not great. But on the other side, we have the shield. This is actively stepping up and renting the home out tax-free for up to 14 days to legally reclaim that lost liquidity. It's the difference between being a passive victim of macroeconomic inflation and being an active defender of your own financial fortress. You're basically using the system's own rules to offset the burdens they're placing on you. Which leads us directly into our final section, part 4, protecting your financial legacy and building a fortress. So the crucial takeaway here, the main strategic advice from our sources, really comes down to building that fortress. First off, you need to stay invested in hard assets. Honestly, they're still your absolute best hedge against the printing of trillions of dollars. Once you're invested, you want to legally nickel and dime the system by utilizing tools like the 14-day Augusta Rule to protect what is actually yours. Doing this constantly keeps the math in your favor, ensuring your wealth explosion isn't just siphoned off by the government. And finally, the source strongly recommends subscribing to Hidden Tax to help cut through all the economic theater and stay completely focused on reality. All of this leaves us with a pretty critical question to ponder today. Will you just let the siphon drain your legacy? Or are you going to take active steps to build your fortress? The 2026 reality is that passive home ownership, yeah, that's kind of a thing of the past. The rules of the game have fundamentally changed, and now that you can clearly see the hidden tax mechanics at play, the next move is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown empowered you with a totally new perspective on your assets. Keep learning, keep building, and I'll catch you next time.